Do you have 3 reasons why Bitcoin has come down from above 70 to where it is now?
Bitcoin is quite literally crashing right now. Most don't realize why this is happening. Where would I buy Bitcoin? I'm going to tell you. Bitcoin is absolutely dumping this morning, and here's why. Number 1, Mt. Gox is preparing to sell 143,000 Bitcoin to its creditors. Number 2, ETF outflows actually reached 1 billion in the last 10 days. 10 billion out of the ETFs the miners are selling. And boy, are they selling. This is a historic sell-off, dumping over 30,000 Bitcoin worth 2 billion this month. So the smaller miner capitulation is actually very normal for Bitcoin. Post-Bitcoin halvings, a small miner capitulation is actively occurring. Halvings and bear markets purge the weakest miners and weakest holders from the network. This miner capitulation is one for the record books, as it is taking a lot of time for miner capitulation. Post-halving, historically speaking, so far we're getting into the 60-day range. We're in past halvings. It's taken 20 days, 30 days, 10 days, and it just seems like everything is lining up. Anthony Pompliano here on CNBC lists 3 reasons why Bitcoin today is dumping. Do you agree with him?
Do you have 3 reasons why Bitcoin has come down from above 70 to where it is now?
I think it's important first to put it in context, right? Bitcoin's up 40% year to date. It's up 100% over the last year. So in terms of volatility, this is pretty expected. What we've seen in previous bull markets is that there's 4, 5, 6 different drawdowns of 30% or more. We're down about 15% or so. So this is right within kind of the band that you would expect.
That is true. Take a look at this, the last 2 big cycles, plus this cycle. Take a look at how many drawdowns we saw and for how much: 40%, 40%, 30%, 40%, 20%, 20%, 30%, and this is in bull markets.
I think that what occurs is when an asset goes up a lot, people start to take profit. And so what we've seen is this explosive rally to start the year. People naturally take some of that profit. We're also seeing a lot of people doing the basis trade, where they're basically going long the spot market and they're shorting futures. And so what that is doing is it's dampening some of the volatility, which allows for leakage and some selling. And then lastly, I think, is we get to the summertime, right? You see this, a lot of people in the public markets will say, invest till May and then go away. And so you start to see some of that as well here, where people are seeing these really explosive moves at the beginning of the year. And then also Q4 tends to be a big kind of quarter for crypto as well. And so Q2 into Q3 tends to go kind of sideways. I think that's just what we're seeing.
Now, another big thing, actually ever since Bitcoin's halving. Now that we're post-Bitcoin halving, it seems that AI is really sucking the air out of the room. AI is creating millionaires. AI is creating billionaires. Now rest assured, there is a school of thought that although AI is going to create enormous amounts of wealth, Bitcoin will be used to protect that wealth.
What I think is really interesting is, a couple of years ago, it was all about Bitcoin and crypto. Now, a lot of people are talking about AI, but I think people are kind of missing that these are actually part of the same trend. We're going into this automated world where AI is going to create enormous amounts of wealth, and Bitcoin is going to protect that wealth. And so when you start to see these technologies coming together, an easy way to see that intersection is, what money are the machines going to use?
Then why is it diverging?
Well, what you start to see is people are putting capital, they outlay it into Bitcoin, into crypto, and now they move over to AI, they'll go and they'll invest there. But it's not like Bitcoin is going and falling, 50%. What they're going to do is, as AI continues to, kind of get larger, there's more wealth generated there, people are going to look to protect that wealth. And I think that they'll go back into Bitcoin. And so my guess is that AI and Bitcoin are both a 10-year trend here. We've got massive tailwinds. And the good news for the United States is there's a potential that GDP will actually increase because of the productivity from AI, and then Bitcoin being able to protect a lot of this wealth. I think that people looking at this as what's going to happen day to day or week to week are missing this huge tailwind for the next decade.
What about these ETFs? Though these ETFs have been hugely successful, but now, why now are we seeing this tremendous outflow? Wasn't this time supposed to be different? Is this Wall Street selling? A lot of people think that this is institutions rebalancing, and that's true, but it's also this.
This is the first time you had a spot ETF, though.
Correct.
They have as much Bitcoin as they need now to satisfy clients?
No, I think that what we've seen in the ETF flows, when you go and you analyze it, about 80% of the flows into the ETF were actually retail, right? People thought it was going to be big institutions, but only 80% was retail from some of the analysis. What takes a long time inside of these organizations is they've got to go to their investment committees, they've got to make a case, they've got to go through the approvals. If you're a financial advisor, the number one job you have is don't get fired. And a great way to not get fired is to make sure you've done the work, make sure you're risk mitigating, and really understand what you're about to buy.
So do not get shaken out, especially at this point in the cycle. We are at a pivot point, an inflection point. I still have high conviction. It does not waver with price. This is bull season. We do have strong catalysts on the horizon, the ETF, the US presidential elections. This is an election issue. Expectations of a rate cut ETF on Doge? I don't think so. The launches of cryptocurrency ETFs worldwide, sovereign funds in countries will hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet, plus more MicroStrategies, more Michael Saylors. The CEO of Dell is a huge Bitcoin bull. He's way richer than Michael Saylor. I'm waiting for the day where Dell says we're doing a MicroStrategy and putting Bitcoin on our balance sheet. Or Michael, the CEO himself, says, hey, I'm just buying, I'm believing this. Do not get liquidated. This is a bear trap. Or I actually don't even think this is a bear trap. Yet we're ranging. We're actually in a rather tight range. We could again possibly hit 57, 58, 59, bounce back up. And we'll see, we'll have to break outside of the range to the upside, or we'll have to break outside of the range to the downside. So where would I be a buyer? Well, I might consider buying at around $57,000. I mean, within this range, that's a good spot to buy. I'll be honest with you, though I would be a major buyer if we got below 55,000. Actually, if we got to like 51,000 or 52,000 down here, that would be a bear trap in my opinion, and I would be a huge buyer, because then this is what I'd expect, because we are in a bull market. Here's the bottom line: if you're a believer like me, this is an opportunity. Not only does this make a healthy market with sustainable price runs, this is healthy, but also an asset with great fundamentals is on sale right now. I love what Pomp says here. This is how I think about it.
And the last thing I'll say is, the thing about Bitcoin that always cracks me up is when the price goes down, people get upset. But I always tell them, you maybe should go check what you own. Because if you have true conviction, when the price goes down, you should be excited to go buy more of it, right?
Is that what you're doing?
I was literally saying this morning that I'm going to go into the office, I'm going to go buy some more, right? And the reason why that's so important is as the price goes down, if you have a 10-year time frame, you're just getting it at a cheaper price. You're dollar cost averaging down. And so I do think that Bitcoiners, more so than almost any other asset class, historically they have bought, they've held for a long time, they continue to dollar cost average, and they're using these timeless investing principles to create real wealth for themselves.
I don't know, if you bought at 8, it's tough to buy at 60.
Well, if you bought at 8,000 and you still have cash, right, where else are you going to put it? I think that's the big question is, if you want to protect your wealth and you're getting paid a salary every single year, that net new capital, where do you put it? You can put it in the stock market, you can put it in Bitcoin. But again, if you go and you look over a long period of time, what is beating inflation? Gold is a great example. Over the last 5 years, if you've held gold, you've actually lost purchasing power in real terms.
Right.
And so naturally, Bitcoin ends up being one of the only solutions that people are picking.